I appreciate everybody joining us today. My name is Josh Lippy, and I'll give you an introduction here in a minute to myself for those who don't know me, and our special guest, one of our customers, who's joining us as well, and I'll introduce her and let her talk a bit as well. We certainly appreciate, again, you guys taking time. We should take about 30 minutes here, and what we're going to discuss today is how one of our customers is using RailcarRx to reduce maintenance costs of rail equipment by making proactive shopping decisions. I'm sorry, it sounds like somebody is, I can hear somebody there. Hold on, let me mute. Okay, there we go. I have everybody muted. All right. So they're using RailcarRx Insight to reduce maintenance costs of the rail equipment by making more proactive shopping decisions. So without any further ado, let me go on to the next slide here. Okay, so some of you may know me. My name is Josh Lippy. I'm a Director of Operations for RailcarRx. My background, I was previously employed with RailLink, which is part of the Association of American Railroads. Many of you may know that. I worked with many of the large equipment owners while I was there. So I was an account manager to companies like Union Tank Car, to TTX, to many of the larger equipment owners in the industry. And I started here at RailcarRx about 2 years ago, and as many of you may know, we do have a few different services that we offer. One is a repair shop system. The other one is a car repair billing system, which is intended for AAR billing. And then we also have RailcarRx Insight, which we're going to discuss today. So my guest of honor here, our customer, is from Conrad, Ellington, Jamie Heindel, who's the Fleet Utilization Analyst. Jamie, I'll let you introduce yourself and your background in the rail industry, and then we can get started from there.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Jamie. Like Josh said, I've worked with Conrad Ellington Distributors. I've been here in the industry for about 13 years, and currently manage a fleet of over 2,000 rail cars, 41 locomotives, and our company is largely, at least my division is largely over the Southeast. So, and I've just loved working here and my job. It's always a challenge, and it's just great to be here today with you guys. So.
We appreciate you taking some time out of your day. So Jamie, if you could just give us a little bit more information on Conrad Ellington, and there's some information here on the screen, but you just mentioned that you own 2,000 plus rail cars and you're managing those rail cars, and it sounds like you guys are located throughout the Southeast too, correct?
Correct, and it's an integrated fleet. We own some, we lease some, we've got a mixed bag of cars, and we've, over the last 50 years, we have a network of terminals. Now it's about 30 terminals that are rail served at this point. We just opened up a few more this year, and 3 production sites. We are a Class 3 railroad, and we also have a railcar repair facility in Calera, as well as a locomotive repair facility in Orlando. So we're pretty diverse operation. We're part of the Preferred Materials in Mid-South Paving. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those companies, but they're divisions of CRH, which are based over in Dublin. But it's a very, very large, robust network of within the aggregate industry. So we are the rail portion of the operation.
Right. So you guys are very diverse in terms of how you interact with rail. With a rail repair facility, you guys operate a Class 3 railroad. You guys do a little bit of everything. So an interesting fact about Conrad Ellington is not only are they using Insight, but they also use our RailcarRx RMS product that helps to manage their repair shop as well. So they recently signed on to use both products here too, which is great. So so what I'll do is I'm going to step through, just for the benefit of everybody on the call. Some people may be familiar with the RailcarRx Insight system and have heard of it and looked at it. Some people haven't. I'm going to step through a few slides just explaining how the system works with some screenshots. And then what I'm going to do is Q&A with Jamie. So she's going to tell us how they use the system, what kind of savings they've seen in terms of their AAR billing, and their AAR bills, and their overall maintenance costs too, and how the system works for them. So I'm I'm absolutely floored, but not surprised by how much they're saving. So I think that everybody on here will certainly appreciate that. So without further ado, let me go on to the next slide here, and just help to define what Railcar Insight is. So the objective of the system was to create a system to help equipment owners make more proactive maintenance decisions and save money by lowering their AAR bills, right? So what we've seen is many equipment owners are reactive in nature and not proactive. And Jamie, you can probably attest to that too, right? And I think we're going to talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about that. Exactly, yeah. So and it's just the nature of the beast, right? Because we're always trying to catch up because there's not really a good way to be able to use all the industry data out there and make it actionable. So our approach was to take all of that data, industry data, EHMS data, early warning data, maintenance projects, commodity information, car location data, take all of that and provide a way to give actionable data to the equipment owner to make the shopping decision. So when is it best for the customer or the car owner or the shipper owner or whoever the maintenance responsible party is, when is the best time or most opportune time to make a shopping decision? So how we do that is utilizing a proprietary risk-based rules engine, which is fully configurable. And again, we'll get into that, and I'm sure Jamie would love to share some information on how they're using that and what they're doing, right, Jamie?
Right, yes.
Perfect. Exactly. So again, what we're doing is taking all this information here, industry data, repair history, all that information can be molded together to give the user or the fleet manager or the shipper owner or whoever it is actionable data and make proactive shopping decisions. So as a whole, there's a process. Insight actually operates constantly. So as you enter or put your fleet into our system, you configure our risk-based rules engine. And what it does is helps to sort all of the data that's out there into actionable and non-actionable, because not all alerts are actionable. So we know that a window open on a piece of equipment, on a wild alert for a wheel, we're probably not going to do much for a window open, right? However, for an opportunistic or a condemnable, we may have an action that's associated with that alert. The RID report, as we call it, or the Rail Information Digest, which is the second portion of this, that actively monitors the fleet as the fleet sits in the system. We also have a cost comparison report, and the cost comparison report tells you when it's financially beneficial to shop. And again, we'll get into that and talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. On the back end of the system, you actually have the ability to shop, to make shop selection. So you can send equipment to the shop. You can say, hey, I'm notifying this shop, and it provides them with all the mechanical details, and it can even provide them with a scope of work on the piece of equipment, saying, here's what's wrong with this piece of equipment. And then what it also does is facilitates better communication with the shop on the back end too. So you can receive estimates, you can audit the estimates, you can audit the invoices, and communicate with the shop back and forth and receive information and status updates from them too, thereby actually making the entire life cycle of shopping easier from the time that we say, hey, we need to shop this piece of equipment to the time that it's out of the shop. And then we also provide fleet maintenance analytics on the back end. It's a tack-on service. If customers are interested in that, we can take their fleet data and give them some heavy analysis on there as well. So how do we do this? RailcarRx Insight incorporates an interactive dashboard, and it puts all of the information at the user's fingertips. So what we're looking at here is just a sample of the dashboard. There's actually a lot more information on here. So if we look in the bottom left, this is a big one, and we will talk about this, and I think this is one that has certainly helped out Conrad Ellington, but it's the RID report. And the risk-based rules, yeah, there we go. So you're right. So the risk-based rules engine, as Jamie will tell us here in just a minute, or Jamie, you can talk about it if you'd like.
Oh, that's my favorite. Well, I can't. It's one of my favorite features of this whole program, that RID report. It's become crucial to our shopping decisions now. So.
Yeah, and what that does, there's that risk-based rules engine where you can configure your own parameters. So for example, I want to look at cars that have 2 opportunistic wheel sets and an air brake test that's due in the next 60 days. And you can assign a risk score to that. And that's how you can determine or work to determine which cars are my high-risk cars that I need to shop. So again, stepping through that, That's where we come in and look at and say, okay, this is how you can make more proactive repair or shopping decisions on your cars. And then to the right is an actual example of the RID report. Now, this is not the full RID report, but it gives you an idea of what's in there. So you see we're tracking commodity, ETA to the location, the last sighting of the information. And it also includes UMLR data, open EHMS alerts, everything else. And these are you can print these and generate them for each piece of equipment. And then lastly, what the system does is it stores all your mechanical data too. So it serves as a mechanical repository for your fleet. And it allows you actually to set up your entire fleet in there, and then you can create sub-fleets too. So we know that a lot of folks, like if you're a lessor, you may have fleets that you have divided up by customer or by commodity or so on and so forth. And Jamie, I think you have yours divided up into sub-fleets as well, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, we divided our fleets up to mirror our other systems that we use from an accounting level. So it made it easier to communicate to other departments and staff. It was just a more organized way for us. But
yep. And then you also track the cars in here too. So the system also provides CLMs. And where the car is moving. So all this in conjunction helps you to make those shopping decisions. So Jamie, here comes the fun part. This is where I get to ask the questions, and this is where this is where we get to really dig in. So,
yes.
so our first question, right, is previously before RailcarRx Insight, how did you guys manage and process fleet repairs? Like what did that process look like?
Okay, well, our process, and it may be familiar to some of you guys out there, but we were dumping tremendous amounts of data into spreadsheets from multiple sources and we really didn't have a way to identify what was critical, what wasn't, what did we have time on. I mean, it was really the equivalent now looking back of throwing Jell-O against the wall and seeing, okay, let's pick these group of cars. And we were randomly shopping cars, and mostly it was after it was already obvious that they needed to get to the shop. We were relying on systems one system, the Mars system, it was very antiquated. It served its purpose, but it was no longer relevant to really what we were doing now. And we were also utilizing another service, RAS, which it had its own challenges, but the data was always after the fact, and we really needed a real-time snapshot of what was going on with our fleet. So we started looking into other products that were out there, and RailcarRx was one of them. We were delighted to have the opportunity to work with this program.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, Jamie, is that a lot of the data that you had, right, it was all a manual process of collecting that data and trying to analyze it, correct? Extremely.
Yeah. It was labor intensive. It was sorting and trying to make sense of the data was there, but we had no way to really organize it in a way that made sense.
Right. Yeah. To figure out what was important to you guys. So you would generally say it was what you were doing was reactive in nature in terms of, hey, we think we have a problem with this car. We need to shop it, but there was no real way to really know that and to identify, like we talked about before, but to identify like the bad actors, right? Exactly. Yeah. So it sounds to me like it was, let's throw it at the wall, see what sticks. We think we know, but certainly it's helped to organize. So that leads us into the next question here in my slide deck. Here we go. So this is a great question, and this is one of these. I've talked to a lot of equipment owners, and I've heard some crazy numbers out there in terms of maintenance costs and things like that. But if you had to take an educated guess, you probably don't need to take an educated guess because you probably know. But what percentage of repairs were AAR build repairs versus your contract repairs prior to using Insight? If you recall. Sure.
At the time of the pilot, 90% of our repairs were being managed by the railroad, which equated to approximately $100,000 a month for us. And that was just external repairs. I wasn't even counting what we were still doing at the shop level. And then we just got this information in yesterday, so it's literally brand new information. The railroad is only managing about 78% of our repairs now, but the external costs are less than $20,000 a month. That's significant. I mean, unbelievable for us.
So basically, what you're saying is from the start of this, and you guys have been using this for I think just over 6 months now. From the start, you guys were billing $100,000 a month in AAR bills or AAR contract repairs or build repairs. It's down to about $20,000. So it's a $60,000 a month savings in terms of AAR repairs that you're looking at right now.
Right, and it's the lowest it's been in 3 years. Looking at it year over year, and some of the questions, and I'm sure some of you guys are probably thinking this as well, because I've been faced with the questions here. Is if I felt like this was a trend, or if this was just a random month, and looking at our internal costs, they're going up, which is what we anticipated and what we should see in a scenario like this. So I feel very optimistic that this is a trend going in the direction that we've been hoping for.
So in other words, you're seeing your contract shop bills increase a little bit because you guys are shopping more cars proactively, shopping more cars, and you're seeing your AAR billing go down, which is
absolutely yes. So the trend is there. Exactly what we anticipated to see at this point, and it's just amazing. I can't even believe that we're sitting here in November and with a $20,000 external repair cost bill.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you also mentioned to me the other day that you noticed that the AAR bills seem to be stabilizing, right? So like before they were at 90% and kind of out of control, but you're also seeing that they're stabilizing at that $20,000 a month, or they seem to be flattening out a little bit.
Yes, we aren't in a situation where we can pretty much predict now what we're going to get that month. It's definitely, there's no curveballs. We're actually looking at the data in practically real time, and we're fully aware of making proactive shopping decisions as opposed to reactive shopping decisions, and it's been really good for us to get a handle on our arms around some of these costs that have previously been unchanged. So
yeah. So that leads us into this next one, right? So that we know how you were doing it previously, which I know from experience that a lot of people have trouble prioritizing, right? So how in general, and we'll kind of step through some of these things too, because I know that we had talked previously about how each of these pieces in the system help you, but and at a broad level, how is it helping you to prioritize repairs? And then using that risk-based rules engine, how has that helped you guys to do that?
Sure. Well, the first thing is the dashboards are just an easy snapshot so that you can look at any given moment and see, what needs your attention immediately. There's no sifting through lines of data in a spreadsheet. You're immediately able to just yesterday I was in there and I saw, okay, immediately there's 20 cars. Those are the ones I'm going to target. And literally the process took me maybe 10 minutes, which was a process that used to take me almost a week. So it really helps narrow your focus to the pieces of equipment and assets that need your focus at that time, and to get immediate shopping decisions on the assets that require it, as opposed to just guessing. The risk rules that has been significant for us. We are able to actually put some science behind the decision by having these rules run against these alerts that are out there and have it assign a number that makes sense. Okay, historically, this is the percentage, you're looking at an 80% chance that this car is going to be pulled by the railroad if you don't make a shopping decision. And it's really been streamlined our decision making. The cost comparison report, that's another one it's easy to show your supervisors and say, hey, this is what we're saving immediately. Yeah. You can look at that.
Here's an example. Yeah, here's an example of that cost comparison report that you're talking about. So I thought you'd want to talk about this, so I stuck this slide in here without you knowing. So for everybody's benefit, this is just a screenshot of the cost comparison report. But what it does is it compares the AAR rates for the repairs that potentially could be done on that car against your contracted rates. So it's looking at the average cost, like a minimum and a maximum, and that's why you see that there. But it shows you immediately, in this case, you can see that the potential savings are around 40 to 43% based on a minimum and maximum level. So So yeah, that does help to provide that information. So the other thing is the actual RID report itself, and the Rail Information Digest, right? And that you're alluding to that on the dashboard. It shows you right there, right in your face. It says, hey, these are your cars that need attention, right? And that's based on the risk-based rules engine that you've configured and set up, right? So I know that you have certain parameters that you're looking for, like if an air brake test is due, but you can also do things like, hey, if it's traveling on this railroad, assign it a higher level of risk. Or if I have tank cars and it's carrying this commodity, assign it a higher level of risk, right? And that can be tweaked as you go along. And I'm assuming that you guys have tweaked that over time and learned a few things in terms of how that's doing, and probably made assumptions too, like, well, we want to look at condemnable wheel sets, but it might be too late for those. So I think you guys are really focusing on opportunistic wheel sets.
Exactly, and I was just actually in there yesterday adjusting a few of our rules because as you use this, your fleet demands may change. So you can it's nice being able to go in there and change those rules to fit your needs at that time. So I was just in there the other day, literally yesterday, actually doing that. But we send that RID report. We use that as a way to communicate with our shops. So when they're getting the car, they already have that report and they're immediately saying, okay, this is what I need to be looking at. So it saves time on their end as well, so that they're not hunting around for what might be wrong with that car. They immediately have that starting point.
Exactly. Now tell us about the RIE, or the RISE we call it, because everybody knows we need more acronyms in this business. But the Repair Instance Exists Indicator, because this is something that we actually built with you guys, in conjunction with you guys. But if you could talk a little bit about what that is and how that works, because I think this is a big one for everybody out there.
Yeah. So within the duration of our pilot, during the course of it, we discovered that the railroad, they were shopping and repairing our cars, but they weren't closing out those alerts, those wild alerts or those truck hunting alerts. So what was happening, they were actually relying on RailLink to do an auto close on them. So the result of that was that it was leaving our cars vulnerable, and it actually was happening that our cars were being pulled in multiple times at sometimes even the same shop for the same alert. And what which resulted as a result of a loss of utilization at minimum. You're losing that car because it's being pulled in now for however many days, which I think now is up to almost 20 days at some of these sites for an inspection, or multiple repairs done, the same repair done twice on that car. So what the folks at RailcarRx did was they put this indicator, the Repair Instance Exists. It's a little indicator. So if the car is shopped, or the car has an alert, but the car has already been shopped and that the work was done to satisfy that alert, it gives you a little bit of an indicator that says, hey, this has probably already been addressed. And because repairs have been in existence since this alert has happened. So what that does for us is, one, we can take those cars and kind of lower the priority on them, because chances are that work has already been done and we don't need to spend resources to get it to a shop and do it again, essentially. And two, it helps us establish a dialogue with the railroad and get those alerts closed out so that we don't have this become a repetitive issue.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the whole shop communication and repair history information in there. So when we were talking previously, and you can have shops, the contract shops can provide you with estimates in there. So when you're sending the car to shop, it records the estimate in the system. So you have a record of the estimate as well as the invoice in the system. And I'm assuming as shops are using this, and maybe your own shop, you can also pass other information back and forth too, regulatory forms or images of the damage to a car. So that information can be passed back and forth through the portal as well. And the shops are getting used to this, because not only you, but Union Tank Car uses this very heavily to capture all of their estimates and invoices from their non-system shops. So it's a very useful tool. Is there anything else in there? The other thing I know we didn't mention though was, Jamie, was the audit capabilities that are also being released here too, which I don't think you've even have taken advantage of yet. But you can use that risk-based rules engine, or that rules engine, in the same way to audit estimates and invoices. So as you receive them, you can do that. And I know we talked about you need to set that up. We do definitely need to set that up with you because it's actually pretty slick. So that is a feature that's been added in here as well to help to audit the estimates and invoices that come in. Was there anything we missed in here, Jamie? Because there's a whole lot going on here, obviously.
Oh, there is. I mean, really one of the best things I think that has also helped us in progressing our repair and maintenance plans is that in the 90 days that we piloted this, we actually were able to make a successful business case to our capital committees here to open a second repair facility, because we finally had a way to organize data in a way that made sense to them. So it made it easier for them to make decisions on things like, hey, we need another center. We need more, to invest in some of our equipment, whatever the case may be, whatever your issues are. I mean, this is a great way to get all that information in one spot where they can look at it and go, I see what you're talking about. So, and that was a battle we were fighting for a little over a year. That in 90 days, it was just, it was really a game changer for us. Right.
Yeah, it sounds that way. So we already looked at this slide, the cost comparison report, and I think we've already answered this question, right? How is Insight helped to lower or manage AAR bills? I mean, a $60,000 lowering that's a big number. I mean, that could pay for a repair facility over several years if you guys could keep on top of that. And you know that. So that's, I mean, that's just a fantastic thing. And as you add to your fleet too, you'll be, putting more equipment into the system. And I think this is just a small chunk of the entire fleet at this point. I think you guys are still working on putting the rest of the fleet through here as well. So this is just on a chunk of your fleet, which I think we've dubbed as the problem children, I think, if I recall.
Exactly. This was the portion of our fleet that was costing us the most that we chose to pilot, because we figured, hey, let's just go all in on this and see what can be done. And we were very delighted. I mean, at the end of the pilot, just on, there were 27 cars that we were able to proactively shop during the course of the pilot. And at the time that we were looking and measuring some of the benchmarks, not all the repair data was in, so we obviously had to narrow it down. But of the 16 cars that we were able to get complete data profiles on in repair billing, there were 16 cars directly identified as a result of this. Like we would not have made these shopping decisions without this program. And out of that, with those 16 cars alone, there was nearly a $12,000 savings. Wow. So just because we were able to make a shopping decision, get those cars to a private or contract shop, and comparing to what it would have cost us for those same repairs if the railroad had gotten a hold of them, that's what our savings was definitely big. So
it sounds that way. Yeah, absolutely. So here's my one question, right? Is what's one key feature that's a must-have? Like if you said, I cannot live without this.
So if my boss came in here right now and said I could only take one thing away from this program, it would be the RID report. Everything is on there. It's just it's been, like I said, the center of all of our shopping decisions are based off of what's on that report. So the shops love it. They have all the information right there. I get fewer and fewer calls from them saying, hey, what am I supposed to be looking at with this car? It's all right there. So it's really just a wonderful tool.
Yeah. So here's the $1 million question. How is it working with RailcarRx? I know what you're going to say.
It's been amazing. And I'm not just saying that. We've had experiences in the past with other service providers where, they were all about you until you got that contract signed, and then you didn't hear from them. I mean, literally, it's just been a night and day difference working with RailcarRx. Archna, or the group that they've had there helping us transition into these systems, they've been unbelievable. You know, we've made what I thought was just really outlandish, like, hey, can we do this? And to our surprise, like, not only were they able to do it, but it was like the next day, hey, it's ready to test. It was unbelievable. So, and they're still there for us. Everybody I've worked with there has been amazing. So I really, and I can't say enough. So.
Yeah, we appreciate your business too. So, so obviously it sounds like you'd recommend this to other equipment owners.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we need to go into like the why. I think at this point, everybody could probably understand why. I mean, just the savings alone. I mean, if you could take that into the bosses and say, hey, look what we did, that could make anybody look like a hero. I mean, you're looking like super railroad person there. So,
yes.
we'll open it up. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's been a really good experience, an eye-opening experience for all of us here, and I think that, I mean, what do you have to lose over a pilot? Either it really, really works for you, which I think will be the case, or you know, you haven't really lost anything, but at least
yeah. And what she's referring to, guys, is we like to put our money where our mouth is too. So what we do with a lot of customers is when they come in, we'll do a 60-day, 90-day pilot where we really just charge pass through for data. And it's a way to tweak it and try it out, and that's that's something that we'd like to extend to anybody who's interested or listening. So, time for Q&A. So there are a couple questions. So one question that I got here that you can answer is I'm sure you can answer is this solution scalable? So for example, they want to know, if my fleet's comprised of 70,000 cars, can I still use this? So in your opinion, obviously, I know the answer to this, but in your opinion, if Conrad Ellington was to acquire like 50,000 rail cars tomorrow, is this something that's scalable?
Oh yeah, definitely. And as a matter of fact, if you're working with a smaller fleet, it actually is more crucial. Sometimes it can become more crucial because you don't want, the more cars you lose if you have a smaller fleet, you're going to be in kind of some crunch times and trying to make sure your product is getting to where it needs to go. So it's definitely scalable. I think that no matter what size fleet you have, you're going to experience significant savings. You're going to see an increase in your utilization. I don't think that there's going to be an issue no matter if you're working with 70 cars or 70,000 cars. So.
Right. Yeah. So the other question I see here that I got is, this is a good one because I've been asked this before. So, is it more expensive to send equipment to a contract shop because they're looking for every possible repair? So I get this, working with repair shops. That's what their business revolves around, right? They want to find every single repair. So it's how do you control those costs? So in other words, there you go.
Sorry. Here's what we do. You're able to actually go through and do a line item approval or rejection on those estimates that come through. And our third-party repair people, our shops, they know just because you put it on that estimate, unless it absolutely is imperative, we aren't necessarily going to agree to it. We are still in control. We're actually in more control now than we were before. So what's nice about it is when you go, like if you go to the mechanic and you're taking it in for a tune-up, you're trusting that mechanic to bring to your attention anything else that may be wrong. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to take care of it that day, but at least you have that knowledge that it exists. And you have that record, and you can add that to your repair history, where you can see if this is a thing that's a reoccurring, or just have that information. Information is power in this industry. So, I mean, but you're still in control over what you spend and where, and what you're allowing to happen. So, we don't have any issues with that.
So here's another question that we just got. So. Yeah, they asked, does your shop selection module include a calculation of freight cost implications? And I'm assuming what they're saying is the non-revenue, or it used to be one free move to and from shop, which is, I think, a monster of the past. I'm assuming I'm assuming that's what they're asking. So I don't know. I believe that's in there. I think. I don't know if you guys are using that, but I think that's factored in.
Yes, I think the freight is calculated, because that was our first question. Our first question was that as well, because we obviously have to control those costs, and a lot of times if you're sending it, like you just talked about, if it's coming off of a loaded move, you can get it to the shop without a cost. You're still going to pay for it to come out of the shop, but you get at least one way without that cost. But there are situations where that's not the case, and you're looking at paying freight to get it both ways. But those costs are in there, and I can tell you, just between you, the AAR labor rates are $129 an hour. You know, even if you're paying that freight cost, and then you calculate in the material cost, you're still getting savings, freight or no freight. So.
Yeah, and that goes into, I believe, the cost comparison report too can also factor in those outside factors as well, like that, because that is a cost factor, because it can be rather expensive to ship the car back and forth to the shop too, and that might go into that decision to say like, I'm going to let the railroad fix this car because it's going to be cheaper for me. But at some point there's the tipping point, right, Jamie, where you say, at this point it's going to be a lot more expensive for me to let this car be repaired by the system than it is for for me to get it into a shop. So
exactly, and the thing is once you get your repair and maintenance, we've totally restructured our repair and maintenance and how we do it now with this system. And once you get on that routine, you have that time to make these decisions so that you're not having to pay this freight. And you have the time to get it off of a loaded move and make these decisions on your timetable, and not necessarily as, oh crap, this needs to be handled right now. So I mean, there's several ways you can mitigate some of those costs.
Right. Yeah. So I don't see any other questions in the box here. I'm going to shoot this out to everybody. Please send them in if you like. So if there's anybody else that has additional questions, go ahead and shoot them through the chat there in the GoToMeeting dashboard. But yeah, we certainly appreciate your time. So we did record this presentation, so we will provide or we can provide this out to folks if they're interested in this or want to share this with other folks within their organization. And then my contact information is at the bottom of the screen there. And Jamie, I'm sure that if anybody had questions, we could filter them over to you, or I would assume.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So we appreciate it. Is there anything in terms of parting message you want to give everybody? There is hope out there for lowering your maintenance costs, that kind of stuff.
Yes, and it's real. It's right. I remember it was just like I think just coming up to a year ago, I was actually on one of these webinars learning about this program, and yes. I think I had a healthy dose of skepticism, only because we had tried everything, and we were just at the end of our rope in terms of getting our repair and maintenance costs under control. So I mean, this has been a true success story for us. So I think that it's definitely worth looking into, no matter your fleet size, and seeing what it can do for you.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Jamie, we appreciate you. We appreciate your business, and we look forward to growing with you and with Conrad Ellington, and we just look forward to going out and helping other equipment owners like you. So if anybody has questions, feel free to contact me, or ping us through the website, and we'll certainly answer any questions that you have. So Jamie, I appreciate it, and that concludes our webinar here, and we thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.